30 years after Tupac's death, the trial over his murder finally begins today. Shakur was killed in a drive-by shooting in Las Vegas in 1996. He was only 25 years old. And for decades, the mystery of who was behind his killing gripped hip-hop fans until 3 years ago, when Duane Davis, who goes by Keffe D, was arrested and charged with first-degree murder. Prosecutors say Davis ordered the killing of the rapper and provided the gun that was used in his murder. Davis faces life in prison without parole if he is convicted.
Joining us now to discuss the case and what's expected during this trial is attorney Rachel Fiset. Thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Good morning.
So much of the case centers on Davis's memoirs, where he lays out and he says in these memoirs that he was in the car involved in the drive-by shooting. The trial likely is not going to reveal who pulled the trigger here. What are prosecutors hoping to prove here instead?
They are hoping to prove that he ordered it, aided and assisted that murder, and in Las Vegas, that is good enough as pulling the trigger. So there is a law that they are going under in Nevada that you don't have to pull the trigger, you don't have to be the one that does the homicide, but if you aided and abetted that crime, you are just as liable as the person who did, and that is what they are going to advance. That's what they're going to try to convict him on to get this homicide charge.
Yeah, it's all interesting because this does come from, as we discussed, his memoirs. So he told people this himself. The defense is now arguing, though, that some statements he made were under agreements that were supposed to protect him. So tell us about that part. What would be protected and how?
So this is a little strange. In 2008, he went in front of federal prosecutors in Los Angeles because there was a totally separate issue going on. He was under investigation for drug trafficking charges. And as part of a negotiation there, the prosecutors were wondering about other crimes, including the crime of killing Notorious B.I.G. So instead of talking about that killing at that time to help lessen the charges and the time for the drug trafficking, he then began to speak about the killing of Tupac. And when you go in to speak to prosecutors, there is some protections you're getting because they've asked you to speak and you're not going to say, okay, well, anything I say now can be used against me. So they offer some protections, they offer some confidentiality there in that confession. And he, in many ways, confessed at that time. It is on video. So if you move forward to when he wrote his book about 10 years later, he then lays out similar things as he did when he was speaking to the prosecutors. And the prosecutors now say, well, wait, now it's not confidential anymore. We don't have to put your general confession in this confidential bucket and protections because now you've laid it out to the public. And that's really what we're going to see in this trial is we're going to see the book and we're going to say, hey, those are corroborating statements he made about 10 years prior to the book. And those are no longer protected because he himself breached that confidentiality agreement.
Wow, that's a lot to unpack there. Can we talk about who's expected to testify during this trial? As you just said, you know, there are names like B.I.G. This has been 30 years. Right. Who are they going to be able to drudge up here and get on the stand?
Well, the biggest name will be Suge Knight, and he was in the car with Tupac. So he is really, what we can tell from here, the only true eyewitness. He was in the car, he saw the other car, which had 4 people in it, and the only person still alive of those 4 is Davis. So for people involved, Suge Knight is the biggest name. He is going to testify. He's already in prison serving a term for another crime. They're going to get a lot of law enforcement. They're going to get the Nevada governor. They're going to get the former Nevada, Las Vegas mayor. They're going to get people who investigated the crime to talk about what they collected at the time. There's expected to be about 35 witnesses. This is an old case. This will be really interesting.
Sure, but you know, in the hip hop world, this is like an ongoing conversation. I think even for people who were super young when this happened or not born yet, like it was this East Coast, West Coast beef. How do you find impartial jurors in a case where I think a lot of people have already decided in their head like what happened here? How do you keep this impartial?
a very high profile case. It will be hard to find the right jurors. I think jury selection is slated to take about a week so they can go through heavy questioning of jurors to make sure they're not biased. This is a really, really big deal after 30 years of not having anybody to have served time or really convicted of the killing of Tupac Shakur. Again, it's part of hip hop lore.
Yes, it is. And here we'll get started. Rachel Fiset, thank you so much for being with us this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you.